Sunityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhaktir Bhakti
Bhagavati
Uttam
Uttam
Shloka
Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nastaki.
Ki Jai Prabhupada Ki Jai Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. So, see my screen, okay?
Not yet.
Yeah, I have to share, isn't it?
Yeah. Now we can.
No, yeah, okay. So I think we got as far as like chapter.
Is it 13, 14?
Yeah, 10, 11, I think 10, 11 on that. So we got as far as that. So yeah, we were going through chapter, our fourth canto, chapter 10, 11, with Dhruv Maharaj has been battling away with the yakshas. So I'll just carry on a little bit from there, and I might include one or two other things which expands a little bit of Dhruv Maharaj's pastime, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, you can just do your slideshow so we would see the bigger screen.
Yeah.
That's
Is
it.
that okay?
Yeah, good.
Right.
Let's come back.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dhruva, obviously son of Uttanapat. I'm mentioning a few of these names, so there might be some of you will be able to see the link between all these names, and you might be able to expand a little bit on this. King Anga, King Vena, the Yakshas, Kuberas, and Manu. Any link in there? Anybody can expand on all these? So obviously, Dhruva Maharaj, the son of a 5-year-old, is also two characters, Nanda and Sunandan. Sunandan, yeah. Well, there is a picture of Dhruva Maharaj being rejected by his father and Suniti, Surichi, there were two wives, and then he was being casted away into the forest, and then he goes away with determination that he will become greater than his own father as well. So actually he goes off to the forest, and then he's doing a lot of tapasya there, only eating fruit and at first, and then starts to eat leaves, and then he's doing tapasya, just living on air, water. Just it shows how the subtle body and the life airs are totally different, and while yogis can actually transcend and get into that state where physical body is not really their part, but that's a difficult process. But this 5-year-old boy starts to do that, and Narad Muni approaches him and then gently touches his head. He says, "My dear Dhruva," Narad said, "even great learned sages were unable to find God even after practicing yoga and austerity for many births. I think you should go back home." And then Dhruva is saying, "My dear Lord," replied Dhruva humbly, "my stepmother, Surichi, has pierced my heart with her harsh words. Therefore, I cannot follow your advice." So Narad Muni knows that he is very determined. He's not going to give up. So with that determination, he then, teaches him the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and he attains the Supreme Lord. And when he doesn't find enough words to praise the Supreme Lord when he appears in front of him, then Vishnu then touches him with his conch shell, and then amazingly words flow from him in praise and also in prayers. So there is Dhruva Maharaj being then he realizes that he's been seeking for just a few pieces of glass instead of diamonds, when he's been presented with diamond. So he regrets a little bit for his desires, but then his desires do get fulfilled. So that was part of the Dhruv Maharaj's pastime a little bit, but then he does get tangled up in ruling the earth for such a very long time, he gets, at one point, then he gets tangled up in these yakshas. So this is actually a part where I got this, and it says, some of you might be able to expand on this if you know. So therefore, my dear Dhruva, please turn your attention to the Supreme Person, who is the infallible Brahman. Face the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your original position. And thus, by self-realization, you will find this material differentiation to be merely flickering, thus regaining your natural position and rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is the all-powerful reservoir of all pleasure and who lives in all living entities as the super soul. You will very soon forget the illusory understanding of I and mine. My dear king, just consider what I have said to you, which will act as medicinal treatment upon disease. Control your anger, for anger is the most foremost enemy on the path of self-realization. I wish all good fortune for you. Please follow my instructions. Can anybody relate who is saying this to Dhruv Maharaj?
Hare Krishna, is it Narad Muni?
No. This is happening when Dhruv Maharaj
Yes,
is
when he went, when
fighting
he
the
got
yakshas.
angry, he went to fight with the yakshas. No, I think it's Lord Vishnu himself. No.
No, it's actually Manu.
Oh, his
He comes
grandfather,
to
great grandfather.
testify.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Manu comes to him.
Yes.
That's why I put those words on top. The links between King Anga and then Manu, and obviously. But anyway, Manu is instructing Dhruva to actually make him realize that these yakshas are actually just illusory energy. You should not get tangled up in this battle. Then he says, turn your attention to the Supreme Person.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
forget this, yeah. So
Yeah.
Manu instructs him. But the instructions are amazing in that, you know, it's a bit like what Krishna is telling Arjun, you know. He says, don't worry too much about this. You confused about your battle, your dharma and everything. But by self-realization, you know, you are not the body, you're disciplined. So that teaching comes in. But this bit here, you know, it says, you know, which will act as a medicinal treatment. It's like a bit like, you know, we all need a bit of medicine, you know, from somewhere to get on to the proper understanding and forget this illusory energy, I, mine, and all that, this Maya. So a lot of it kind of instructions to Dhruv Maharaj here. So then Dhruv Maharaj is obviously, Manu also instructs him to, because the yakshas, you know who yakshas were? Anybody? So they were actually descendants of Kuvera. So the Kuvera would be a bit upset, you know, because Dhruv Maharaj is battling away with these yakshas. So Kuvera then, Manu comes to Dhruv Maharaj and says, you know, give up your anger and all that, and then Kuvera will be pacified and he will not cause any this harm to to your generations or whatever. So
it's because also Dhruva was killing too many yakshas, because Manu said that only some of them killed your brother, not all of them. Now you're trying to kill so many. So Kuvera will not be happy. That's why he instructed him to stop the fight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So,
thank you.
you know, I thought I would include some of these, but I thought these were quite interesting. But self-realization, when we come to some sort of understanding of our original position, so we all have our original position as well, which is not really this designation of I, mine, or anything, but it, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita as well, that, you know, we're all part and parcel, spiritual living entities. So we have our original position actually, which is then the material differentiation becomes just a flickering thing. So it's quite deep here. But then Dhruva Maharaj takes this instruction and this picture. What does this show?
This picture showing that Dhruva Maharaj is going to his loka, to Dhruva loka, but he's turning around and looking if he's where is his mother. He's asking the Vishnu Dutas about his mother, and then they told him that his mother is following as well. Is
Yeah,
it?
that's right. Yeah, Mataji, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's very good. And where is this place? You know, I mean, what did Dhruva Maharaj do after listening to Manu, and then where does he go? He spends a lot of time actually. If you actually do look at those instructions as well as what he does, is he goes to Badrika Ashram, and there he takes bath in the pure clean waters, and then he practices this yoga postures that, you know, Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. Somebody asked a question about that. Let's get your seating position right, then breathe, control your breath, and then all that process of doing tapasya like that. And Dhruva Maharaj does all that, and then at the time of liberation, then these two associates of Vishnu, Nanda and Sunandana, they come to him on his golden aeroplane, which is amazing. You know, this is the part where we think, you know, death happens, or when somebody leaves the body, well, they've actually left the body, they're probably on the spiritual journey, so you're already on a spiritual path. But Dhruva Maharaj here goes on this golden airplane. But the description in that chapter of how Dhruva Maharaj circumambulates this airplane, pays respect. Yet before that, he even goes and have a bath and then cleans himself and everything else. Then or puts in the new clean ornaments, clothes and everything, and then he pays respect, bows down, and actually also steps on the head of Yamaduta, who's appearing. So death doesn't touch him at all, you know. In fact, he steps over the head. I mean, that description is there in that chapter. I mean, you can go to that part and read that, but you don't need to actually. Some of you can spend time doing that. But that's quite interesting, you know. So Dhruva Maharaj goes, and he's obviously concerned about his mother. So as you said, Mata, you know, so he's concerned. So then the two associates of Vishnu, they reassure him that she's already on her way to the Dhruvalok. So he goes to Dhruvalok, and then at the end describes how Dhruvalok, just like you know, we circumambulate a bull, in that way all the other planets and all that circumambulate Dhruvalok, you know. So it's a very highly elevated position. There's no Vishnu Lok. That's actually slightly different from what the different rasas like Madhurya Ras and Vatsalya Ras and all that might give. So that might be expanded on that a bit. So anyway, that was interesting part of the instructions. But then, so some instructions from these chapters like 13, 14, 15, King Anga, then King Anga is the descendant of Dhruva Maharaj. He has a bit of a negative incident where he has a bad son, and he sees he takes this as a blessing or a boon, that, you know, a bad son can be seen as a boon if it leads to detachment from material existence and sends one on the path of devotional service. So sometimes negative things happen, bad things happen. If they can push us towards the spiritual or devotional path, then that's actually a blessing. But if you do not do that, if that doesn't happen, then that actually becomes a source of a lot of pain and suffering, which can happen, you know. So the king thought, King Anga is always thinking that a bad son is better than a good son. So good son creates an attachment for home, whereas a bad son at least doesn't do that. The bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. So sometimes, as if, like there's a story about how eagles raise their young ones, There's a story how the young babies, when they hatch from the egg, the eagles, they build their nests so high up in the cliffs, in the mountains, so high. And their nest is built out of thorns, actually. So that the baby starts to become very uncomfortable as it's kind of developing in the thorn, in the nest. And then he starts to realize that this is not a very comfortable place. I need to get out of here. And that's what encourages us to get out of the nest and start flying. And the eagle will just give it a push down the cliff, and then it picks up its wings. So sometimes if it's a very comfortable situation, we don't want to get out of it. So that's an instruction here. Also, it's important to maintain the Sanatana Dharma and Varnashram system as much as possible, even if it means getting rid of misleading personalities like King Vena, who was killed by the sages. So obviously King Anga and then King Vena was his son who was creating hellish situations. And King Vena, so the Brahmins realized that this is leading to a bad situation. And they decide to sort of even have to get rid of him. And it's funny how then later on Prithu Maharaj instructs. So this part here, I thought I'd include that. And it's quite a few, Srimad Bhagavatam, we think that, it's some sort of a myth and all that. But when he mentions things like the sages decided that the descendants of the family of the saintly King Anga should not be stopped. So the descendants should not be stopped. In this family, the semen was very powerful and the children were prone to become devotees of the Lord. So if the generations, if that is there, whether they understood the DNA or semen or how next generations, if they do become devotees by nature. So obviously that is a kind of a deep science here in a way, if you can call it science. But the Brahmins understood all this, But they also knew that the Brahmins are peaceful and impartial, equal to everyone, and not to neglect poor humans. There's a bit of instructions for the Brahmin that the Brahmins, if they do not actually carry out their duty, then their power actually gets diminished as well, their Brahminical qualities. And just as water kept in a cracked pot would leak out, So after that decision, the saintly persons, they churned the thighs of the King Vena. After they killed him, they churned the thighs, and then the person born with King Vena's thighs was Bahuka, and his complexion was black. So how they understood about churning a body and to extract a personality out of his thighs is just amazing. And also, he was very submissive, but he takes away all the negative part of King Vena and creates a Naishad race was born. And then they actually take charge of the sinful activities and all the stealing and plundering and hunting and all that goes on. They're the descendants of that part, But then obviously the next part is where the sages, highly learned in Vedic knowledge, they actually churn King Vena's dead body and the two arms of King Vena's body. A male and a female couple come out of his arms. The great sage was highlighted. So the male and female, it says that the expansion of the plenary portion of Vishnu, the male is the plenary portion of the power of Vishnu, who maintains the entire universe. The female plenary portion or expansion rather, the goddess of fortune, who is never separated from the Lord. So of the two, the male will be able to expand his reputation throughout the world, and his name will be Prithu Maharaj. So Prithu Maharaj is extracted out of this, right, the two arms of King Vena. The female, her name was Archie. So she will accept King Prithu as her husband. So in the form of King Prithu, the personality of Godhead has appeared through the part of his potency. So we haven't gone through Prithu Maharaj's appearance in that way, but that's why this picture then makes some sense of why it is in front of that Srimad Bhagavatam, the front cover, just King Vena's left arm, Prithu Maharaj and Archie are extracted, like, or expansion. I mean, how the Brahmins do this Vedic, with their potency of mantras and all this is amazing. So that's that part of the instruction. I thought they include that. So by studying the characters and activities of King Vena and Maharaj Prithu, we can understand that we can bring peace, prosperity, and progress. So Prithu Maharaj, obviously, Srila Prabhupada instructs in the purport that only if one is able to eradicate completely the threefold miseries of the citizens, he should aspire to rule the world. One should not aspire to rule for any political or diplomatic considerations. It's a bit of instructions for those who want to go into politics or go into any diplomatic consideration in life. If you can bring about peace. And so Prithu Maharaj was one of those type of kings, who then establishes amazing varnashram system, build cities, and the whole planning of the metropolises, all that comes about. Maharaj Prithu's interaction with the earth are contradictory, but sometimes can be bewilderous. It's not easy for us to understand such transcendental activities. So sometimes, there are transcendental activities. Even Krishna comes and performs sometimes some transcendental activities, and it might sometimes be very contradictory as well. But the contradictions can only be resolved in Krishna. From our point of view, we are all fixed up in duality. We get pulled one way or the other, right or wrong. From our perspective, we see things black and white, or but in between all the shades of gray and all that. But so Prithu Maharaj's interaction was quite the earth, same as a cow, has to be respected, because I think at that time the earth was not giving enough, and Prithu Maharaj shows that it has to be respected. In the same way, the cow has to be respected as well, and then she will provide even more milk. I mean, we know that somehow when Krishna was in Krishna's pastimes as well, when Krishna is going with the cow herd, the cows used to give milk so profusely because Krishna is the cow herd boy, tending them, looking after them. So amazingly, they give far more milk. And in Bharat, we also see cows that are loved and cared for give milk more, of better quality as well, more nutritious. But out of stress, they are in farmed, industrialized cow sheds. They're under stress and duress. They know they're going to be slaughtered as well. So it's a different situation, but there's to be respected. So the best course of surrender is to the Supreme Personality of God wholeheartedly. Being protected by Him can remain peaceful. So our position is a bit like in Kali Yuga. There's no proper leaders, no proper guidance, can't give protection. The earth is not respected and all that. But what can we do? We have to remain surrendered. So this Mahamantra is chanted regularly, heard regularly by devotional process of Shravanam and Kirtan. It will purify all society in that way. Humanity will be happy materially, spiritually, but more importantly, whether heading towards spiritual life. So 1920, well, there was a bit of incident about Indradev, who was getting very envious of Maharaj Prathu when he was doing a lot of horse sacrifice. He was stealing horses or something. And then Indra actually led to creating these pseudo religions and sannyasi orders, Pakhandas and Pakhandis. And Lord Brahma instructed Prathu Maharaj not to create more envy in Indra and stop the spread of irreligious practices that may ensue. So he should pursue his real purpose of his incarnation. So then Prathu Maharaj stops all these sacrifices, stop agitating Indra's envy, and then but also at the same time, Prathu Maharaj learns to forgive Indra, and also as a result attains Lord Vishnu's favor. So in Prathu Maharaj, Indra is forgiven for what he was doing, and he's able to guide the citizens properly then. So Prathu Maharaj asks for 1,000,000 years to hear the glories of the Lord in association with his pure devotees. So that's what he's seeking more, that, prefer that. And this is a good example and instruction for us to follow. And we are blessed with 2 ears and 1 mouth, So you're listening, and I don't talk that much, but Srila Prabhupada explains Prathu Maharaj's instructions regarding rendering devotional service. Prathu Maharaj, by the use of the word yathadhikara, according to one's ability, if one sincerely executes his devotional service, that will be sufficient. One does not need to become like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Indra, Lord Chaitanya, or Ramanujacharya, or great personality. You don't have to imitate, copy them, whose capabilities are certainly far above ours. As confirmed by the Lord himself, Striyo, Vaishyas, Tatha Sudras, Tepi Yanti Paramagatim. It does not matter what one is, whether Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, or degraded woman. If one engages himself seriously in devotional service, working with body, mind, and intelligence, is sure to be successful in going back home, back to Godhead. So that's chapter 21. 22, Sanat Kumar is answering Prathu Maharaj. I think Prathu Maharaj is fortunate, the 4 Kumaras actually do come to him and give him audience. What will benefit those suffering in this world? Emphasizes detachment from bodily concept and attachment to the Lord, the path of bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada in the comment also comments, desires for fruitive activities are strongly rooted, but the tree of desire can be uprooted completely by devotional service, because devotional service employs superior desires. So we all have desires, we all want a better situation for ourselves and our family, and down, at the ground level here, we're all seeking for the same sort of things, desires. But when we start to develop superior desires and then give up the inferior desires, then we can. Otherwise, to stop desires is not easy, impossible otherwise. And then the demigods' wives were praising Prathu Maharaj's wife Archi, who they say surpassed as well. And Srila Prabhupada comments, the wives of the denizens of the heaven higher planetary systems did not very much appreciate the results of karma, jnana, and yoga. And she served her husband with mind, speech, and body, just like Lakshmi serves Vishnu. So this Archie's position explained a bit more. And then Lord Shiva gives darshan and gives instructions on how to cleanse the mind and offer prayers to the prachetas. And he explains why in the following verse. Lord Shiva's continued, any person who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature as well as the living entities, actually very dear to me. So even Lord Shiva says that, those who surrendered to Supreme Lord Krishna, they're very dear to me as well. And then Prabhupada in the purport explains how devotees are rare and fortunate as per this verse. Bahunam janmanam ante gyanavan mam prapadyante Vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. So those mahatmas are described as those who are actually maha-atma. They're all atmas, but they're very rare. Those who surrender to Krishna, they are very rare. After many, many births, who's actually knowledge surrenders to me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. I think chapter 25, Srila Prabhupada comments in the King Prachina Barhisat. Yeah. So there is that part of in this chapter where he founded the best spiritual master Narad Muni, and he therefore asks him about that knowledge by which we can get out of the tanglement of karma bandhana fas. Fas means like, you get this splinter in your finger, then you say it is karma bandhan fas. Is like, how can we get it out, or how can we get out of it? And this is the actual business of human life, is jivasasya tattva jignasu nartha yascheha karma bi. So Prabhupada, we should also follow the king's example. Fortunately, we're following Srila Prabhupada, who's in the disciplic succession of Narad Muni. And then chapters 26, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, our consciousness is working in two ways, the right way or the wrong way. When one becomes too proud in his position, influenced by the modes of passion, he gives up the right path and accepts the wrong one. Kshatriya kings are sometimes advised to go to the forest to hunt ferocious animals just to learn how to kill. But such foresight are never meant for sense gratification. Killing animals to eat their flesh is forbidden for human beings. So a lot of instructions there, 27. In Chaitanya Charitamrita say the Ekala Ishvara Krishna Arasabha Bridya Yarai Chennachaye Sei Taije Kare Nitya. Nitya means dance. Actually, the Supreme Consoler is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and everyone is his servant. Yavana Raj, the king of the Yavanas, was also a servant of Krishna. Consequently, he wanted to execute the purpose of Krishna through the agency of Kala Kanya. As a daughter of time, there's this part where Kala Kanya was offered to Narad Muni as a daughter, but he doesn't accept her. He doesn't want to get tangled up with time as such. Narad Muni is cursed. He doesn't spend much time in any one particular place, or he's not allowed to, according to the curse. So there is this Puranjana, Kala Kanya. Yeah. In this connection, it is significant that Narad Muni was immune to the attack of Jara. Jara is old age or invalidity, and Jara, or the destructive force, cannot attack any follower of Narad Muni or a pure Vaishnav. And then chapter 28 and 29, the conclusion is that the mind is the storehouse of our past desires, and we have this present body due to our past desires. Similarly, whatever we desire in this present body will be expressed in a future body. Thus, the mind is the source of different kinds of bodies. If the mind is purified by Krishna consciousness, one will naturally in the future get a body that is spiritual and full of Krishna consciousness. Such a body is our original form, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms. Jivera Swarupa Hai, Krishna Nitya Dasa. Srila Prabhupada comments in the purport, when the Prachetas offered prayers to the Lord, the one who offers prayers to the Lord to fulfill his different desires must know that the highest perfectional fulfillment of desire is to go back home, back to Godhead. And those who remember the activities of the Prachetas, the sons of King Prachinabarisa, will be delivered and blessed. So these are the prayers that were offered by Prachetas, and we also should learn how to pray correctly, going back home, get back to Godhead. And last was when Narad Muni appears before the Prachetas, they tell him that they almost forgot the instructions given by Lord Shiva. So Prachetas were going away into the ocean actually to meditate for a very, very long time, and Lord Shiva appears to them, but that's what they were going to do, and then they'd forgotten those instructions given. There's also that what's the Lord Shiva's no, the Astakam or something. What are they? Anyway,
Rudra Gita.
Rudra Gita. Yeah, it's just a word coming out of my head. Rudra Gita. Yeah, that was the Rudra Gita, which obviously, that's Karuna Banda is amazing at singing some of those amazing songs like that. But this was Lord Shiva's, so Rudra Gita. So upon their request, Narad Muni instructs them on the path of bhakti then, which is devotional service. So even the Prachetas were fortunate enough to get the blessings of Narad Muni, and then they get instructed properly. And then the transcendental practices that do not ultimately help one to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead are useless. Be they mystic yoga practices, the analytic study of matter, severe austerities, acceptance of sannyas, or study of Vedic literatures, all these may be very important aspects of spiritual advancement, but unless one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, all these processes are useless. So we are on a journey to understand all these different activities and ultimately what is of ultimate benefit to us. So these final instructions, I think, was amazing, that in this regard, there are so many different instructions. Some instructions may strike you very, very prominently. Others may become a bit obscure depending on what we're all seeking. But certainly some of these things stood out best for me in the fourth canto, and try to relay that to everyone. But it's amazing, canto, an amazing pastime there. So any questions, any comments? Lot to absorb, and so many different pastimes.
No, it's good. You covered it well. Thank you so much.
Okay, Navi, thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Guru Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai.
So let's.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. It was nice going through the Canto 4 again and refresh our memories about this pastime of these great personalities. And I'm sure you have taken great pain to find all these, read a lot, and then present it in front of us. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for giving me a chance to expand on this a bit. But I think, we understand, that when it says doesn't matter which way background you come from and all that. So there are some amazing pastimes of certain devotees that we can look into the life of, and they spend their time away in Vrindavan. Even if we look at the example of the Goswamis, they were setting an example for us, and unfolded the whole Vrindavan pastimes. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Yeah, let me just find that.